Are we witnessing the beginning of the end of corporate diversity programs or DEI programs? Or is it an opportunity to rethink and reimagine how we create inclusivity within the workplace? Hi, my name is Mamobo Ogoro, social psychologist and founder of Gogrey. And if you want to learn how to unify across differences and ultimately challenge how we think about diversity initiatives, make sure you're subscribing to our channel. So in case you missed it, companies like Meta, Amazon, Walmart, and even McDonald's in the US have recently announced major cutbacks in their diversity, equity, and inclusion or DEI initiatives. Let's start with Meta. In a memo to the staff, the company cited shifting legal and policy landscapes as a reason to ending their equity and inclusion training programs and revising their approach to hiring diverse suppliers and ultimately shifts in their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And they said that the term DEI has become increasingly charged and we're refocusing on programs that mitigate bias for all employees no matter their background. Amazon echoed similar sentiments, calling some of their existing initiatives outdated. They announced that they'd phase out some of their programs by the end of 2024, with Amazon's VP of Inclusive Experiences explained that they're focusing on programs with proven outcomes instead. These announcements come amidst a broader rollback on DEI initiatives across corporate America, many of which were amplified with the racial justice protests and movement in 2020. And remember, a lot of these global companies, their European headquarters are based where? Here in Ireland. But what's really driving these rollbacks? That's the question. For many companies, it's the political and legal risk. Think of the recent US Supreme Court decision on affirmative action and the challenges to corporate DEI programs. And let's not forget the backlash against wokeness or certain political agendas that inclusivity are bringing into the workplace or in wider society at large. There's a lot of backlash transcending all over the Western world. But the truth is that DEI remains absolutely critical for workplaces and wider society to challenge inequality and inequity. Studies constantly show that diverse teams are more innovative or make better decisions and higher financial returns for companies. But let's not forget that DEI remains absolutely critical for workplaces and wider society. Studies constantly show that diverse teams are more innovative, they make better decisions, they're more creative, and ultimately for companies have higher financial returns. According to McKinsey & Company, companies in the top quartile for racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to outperform their industry peers in profitability. But it's not just about the numbers. It's about creating a workplace where everyone feels like they belong, where different perspectives are valued, and where equity becomes the foundation of opportunity. For businesses, this means attracting top talent, retaining employees, and staying competitive in a rapidly diversifying global market. Of course, not everyone sees DEI initiatives in the same light. Critics argue that traditional DEI programs can create more divisions rather than unity. Some people feel that they prioritize identity politics, leading to certain types of tokenism or even reverse racism or discrimination. This is where the backlash against so-called woke capitalism has gained a lot of reaction and traction, with companies like Budweiser and Disney facing boycotts for their diversity efforts. And let's be honest, some DEI initiatives have really missed the mark when it comes to authentic inclusivity. When DEI becomes a tick-boxing exercise or a PR stunt, it undermines trust and reinforces the exact stereotypes that it's trying to dismantle. So how do we address these critiques while keeping to the spirit of equity? Well, I have one solution that I think you may want to listen to. This is where the concept targeted universalism can come in and we can think about it. It's a framework developed by the Othering and Belonging Institute, headed by John A. Powell, and it's about setting universal goals that benefit everyone, but has tailored, targeted strategies and solutions to address unique barriers that different groups face. Imagine you're working in a workplace and the goal is for equal pay for all employees. With targeted universalism, you'd acknowledge that not everyone starts off at the same point. Women and people of color, for example, or other marginalized groups might face systemic barriers in terms of pay equity. So a targeted universal strategy may involve transparency in pay structures, mentorship programs for underrepresented employees, and leadership training to close the gaps. And maybe this could be where these companies aim to go, or it could be completely the opposite. I do not know. I don't know their agendas, I'm not working there. But the beauty of this approach is that it moves away from identity-based models, which often face critiques of divisiveness, and focuses instead on shared goals. And it's about unity, not division. As Johnny Powell was explaining targeted universalism, he explains that we need more bridges rather than breaks between communities within workplaces as well, in order for us to have a shared goal and a shared purpose when it comes to the outcomes of equity. So where does this leave us? The rollbacks we're seeing might feel like a bit of a step backwards, but it's also an opportunity to open the door and start rethinking our approach to DEI. Targeted universalism, for example, is one of the ways that we can start addressing the critiques to DEI, but also stay committed to workplaces where everyone can belong. But what do you think? Are these rollbacks a challenge or an opportunity? And can targeted universalism or frameworks that you may know help us in creating a future where DEI can be seen in a positive light? Make sure to leave your comments, your opinions in your comments. We can have a good conversation. And I think that when it comes to DEI programs in general, of course, there's been brilliant work when it comes to moving certain communities forward. And personally, a part of me is a bit scared as to where we're going. Like I said, I do not know what these companies' agendas are, or I do not work in them internally. But it's important to recognize that the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion, albeit the term itself has been very heavily monitored and heavily debated on in general, it's super essential for creating workplaces where everyone belongs. Whether you are from a minoritized or even a majority group, DEI and diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, they affect you and they affect those who you are working with. So it's important for us to recognize this and have targeted solutions that affect all of us within the workplace. Again, if you have any comments, feedback, comment below and let us know what your thoughts are.